It says 16:15 for the sunset, Paudie. Maybe some laugh if people were expecting the sun to set at 6:15 tonight, wouldn't they?
The evenings are beginning to stretch, though.
Go on, no, not yet.
You have to be positive.
You have to be positive. And we'll talk about positivity in a minute. Paudie Coffey joins me live in studio. Firstly, I want to give a little plug to the WLR appeal that's taking place. 3 ways to donate. If you're in a position to give even €50 or just even €4, and it's the Christmas appeal, this week's target, we're hoping to reach €80,000, currently at €60,000. We're going to have donate online through the web link christmasappeal.ie. Drop in a cheque made payable to WLR Christmas Appeal or cash. WLR will make sure, give you a receipt, make sure it gets to the organisers, and or text appeal to 50300. Donate €4. St Vincent de Paul will get a minimum of €3.60. And we're going to be in with a chance to win prizes, premier passes for the sold-out Robin Hood Panto, family weekend, camping pass for Kaleidoscope, Rusborough House, Blessington, Westlife, a pair of tickets. So it's all on christmasappeal.ie. The draw will take place on WLR here on the 23rd of December. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff in the programme this morning. Going to be talking to Terri Martin, one of the mesh survivors. We'll cover the Meccano set controversy from that we were due to do yesterday. Rose Cahill is coming in, talking to us about barring from one pub being barred for all initiative, and people talking about how to stay healthy and fit over Christmas. And we'll have the Christmas competition. If you want to text in 083 3333 975, or you can call Audrey on 051 846 123. It's my pleasure to have Senator Paudie Coffey in studio. Good morning, Senator Coffey.
Good morning to you, Damien.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Not at all. Delighted to be here.
Firstly, before we give a mention to it, I know you have to go during the programme because there's a funeral in Portlaw this morning.
There's a great character from Portlaw. Everybody will know him. Blacken Keane was his name, Michael Keane, but he was known to everyone as Blacken or Blackie. He was ever present in the square in Portlaw, a very helpful man to anybody that knew him, and he'll get a huge turnout as we say goodbye to him this morning, so I want to be there for that. Going
to funerals and all that stuff that's entailed with politics, from being a councillor from 1999 to being a senator, being a TD. Did it ever get to you?
Oh, without a doubt, at times it does. But you have to put the brave face on and keep going, and that's something I did on numerous occasions. You get into politics for the right reason, and as I said before, I respect all politicians because they want to achieve what's best for their communities, irrespective of their parties. And I was the same. I wanted to achieve a lot for Portlaw first, and for Waterford second, and for Ireland third. And I had the privilege to do that, and I honestly look at it that way. I was lucky and fortunate to be elected relatively young, at 30 years of age. And I progressed very rapidly up through the ranks in Fine Gael, and I couldn't have done that without the support of the people of Portlaw, the Shure area, the Cumra area, and the people of Waterford. And I'll always greatly appreciate that.
You mentioned the word privilege. Do you see it as a privilege that people would actually vote for?
Oh, without a doubt. I put a huge value on the power of the vote. I think politicians with a mandate speak on behalf of the people that elect them, and I just think it's so important that we, cherish our democracy, cherish the fact that we can put in who we want and throw out who we want. Not every country can do that, and we can't say it enough to our children that, and we get schools up to Leinster House regularly, and I say to them all the time, the people that you vote for, and you might even stand yourselves in the future, will be voicing the issues that are concerning you and trying to address them. And it's so important that you think about who you vote for, and I've always believed that, and I always will.
We've so much to talk about, and I know we probably won't get through everything. We're probably going to give a good 20-25 minutes at least on it, half the first hour, because I know you've got to get to the funeral at 11. So we'll get straight to the nub of it. Why are you exiting politics?
Well, we've touched on some of it already. I've already done 20 years in politics and enjoyed every bit of it, and I've no regrets in that sense in terms of what I've done. But the primary reason I'm retiring is because I want to spend more time with my family. And that's the truth. People, I'm getting emotional now because I'm thinking, but
that's okay. That's okay.
I'm a passionate person, right?
Take a drink of water. Then.
Yep.
Take a drink of water.
I'm a very passionate person. Anybody that knows me, I fight my corner, and I have done over the years. But I put family first, and I always have done that as well. And I've reflected on that recently, and I know I need to do more for my family. So I've made this decision. I'll come around now in a minute and I'll be grand.
Okay.
So I apologise. But
it's the first time I've ever seen you crying.
that's the reason. And
do you cry often?
yes.
Do you?
Yeah.
Because you're an emotional
person, and I'm not ashamed to say that.
Yeah, no, you're not.
I cry when I win. I've won county finals with Portlawn, and I've cried, and I'm crying when I sad, and I think that's important for people to do. And the last month has been very difficult on me, but I am very happy in the decision I've made because I know it's the right one. I know I've done a lot, and I've done the best I can for Waterford and for Portlaw, but I need to do things for myself and my family now. And that's the way it is.
Tell me about your family.
Well, I think we went through this before. So I have a wife, Suzanne, and 3 children. I have Aveen, who's 16, Porrick is 14, and Maeve is 10. And I have a beautiful family. And I have 2 brothers, and I have 1 sister. And I lost a sister when she was 22 years of age. It's her 30th anniversary this year. And I'm sorry now to the listeners. I thought of all of this in the last while. People might say it's a midlife crisis or something. I'm 50 this year as well, Damien. And I just sat back and I thought about life. And I've had a very successful life and a privileged life. And I know that. I've had a successful career in the ESB. And I've had a very successful career in politics. But I'm 50 this year, and I want to have the next 20 years doing what I want to do and not what other people want me to do. And politics has been a part of me and a part of my family all my life. And but there's a time comes when you say, you know, do you want to regret something in 10 years' time? I'm a very decisive person. I'm emotional, I'm passionate, but I'm decisive. And I'm a strong person. I can withstand, and I'm resilient. I can withstand a lot, and I have done over the last number of years. But I feel I have other things to do in life, and I want to do them now. And that's why I made the decision I did.
Like what?
Well, there's other opportunities that I have. I've always had an interest in business, and I have business interests that I've, been working on quietly through family and others, that I've never devoted the time that I wanted to do to them. I've interests in a whole new area of policy and the renewable sector in Ireland and all of that I think I can offer something to, because I have a broad skill set now in terms of my experience in politics and the Department of the Environment, but also my background in asset management and engineering. And I think by bringing that together, I want to try new things. It could be a new business or it could be a new job. I'm not sure yet. But I have options that are open to me.
So have you anything lined up?
Not necessarily. I've said in my statements publicly that I want to finish the term of this Seanad, which I will do if I can at all. I don't know how long more that'll last. It could be 6 months, it could be 2 months, I don't know. But what I wanted to be was true to the people of Waterford and true to myself. And I didn't want to be going for election again without 100% committing to the job. And there was this feeling in my head that, you want to do something else. When are you going to make the call? And if I kept putting it off, it would be too late. And I wouldn't be there for the right reasons. And so, as I said, I've always been upfront with people. I'm a very blunt and honest person. Sometimes that went against me in politics. But that's what I am. You get what you see with me. And I'll tell you straight. And that's the way I've always been. So I had to be straight with myself. And that's why I decided to do what I have done. And the fire wasn't in the belly any longer for politics, the way it needs to be. You need to be 100% committed. And when you're committed, you need to take the territory with it. And that territory is time. It's time away from your family. It is a sacrifice, whether people like it or not. And I know, look, politicians are well paid, and they are. But you're sacrificing a lot to do what you want to achieve. And I just feel I need to rebalance that now and refocus in my life.
We'll talk about policies in a little while. There's a lot of texts coming in. Best wishes to Paudie, Suzanne and family. Couldn't have been an easy decision. That's from Mary Butler. TD, politics, best wishes. Best wishes for the future. Other people, best wishes. Sign of the man that you're passionate and honest, says Bernie. I'm not a Fine Gael supporter, but in all the world to think that matters is health and family. Paudie's dead right. Look after himself and the best of luck. There's people texting in. David Cullinan wants to wish you the very best. Someone who fought passionately with Paudie at times. I know he's committed to Portlaw and Waterford. His family are great people. Emotion this morning is a reflection of how serious he's taken politics. I worked with Paudie's father in Waterford. Stanley, Pat couldn't be a nicer person, says Helen. We'll talk about politics in a few minutes. Just on the family thing. You had a difficult time over the summer. The little lad had an accident.
He did.
How was he?
He's great, and he was lucky. And that affected me as well. And it just makes you think about life. And I was in Dublin when it happened. And it was a serious accident.
And he's on the road to recovery now, as you say, thank God.
He's flying again, thank God.
Great.
Thanks to the Professor Neary and the staff of the hospital in Waterford. They were just brilliant.
Yeah.
But it just makes you think. And I've had a couple of those shocks in life. I said my sister died 30 years ago this Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And then you get involved in things and you get busy and you just drive on, and that's the type I am. But Pádraig's accident, events over the last year that seriously challenged me. People will know I had a very serious court case that I put everything on the line to defend my good family name, and which I succeeded in doing. I was away recently with my wife and we reflected, and I said, you know what, there's more to life.
Most things in life are a combination of factors. So, and people do changes. Talk about, you mentioned earlier, myself having a change. You're doing a change as well. And I know you a good few years. I know you the 20 years because effectively I started in RT in Waterford in 1998, just when you got elected. And we've had a white-collar boxing match. We've had a bit of crack.
That was enjoyable.
We had a verbal white-collar boxing match at the election.
We did as well. That was enjoyable too.
Because it's a bit of crack as well, isn't it? You have to have a bit of...
Look, I've been competitive all my life.
Yeah.
No matter what I try to do.
Not many men get past you.
Whether
in
it's
full
work,
back line.
hurling,
They wouldn't get back out anyway.
politics, I've competitive. Sometimes people say I'm too competitive, but that's me and that's the way I am, right?
Yeah.
And I've always enjoyed that. I most certainly have. And I've tried to use it for positive reasons, the competitiveness that's in me. And... but so look, I've no regrets in that sense.
Well, is it a decision that has been coming for a few years?
Yeah,
or a year or
a year or two possibly. I've been reflecting. I've been thinking, what do I want more out of life? What more can I do in other areas? What more can I do for my family? And that's the truth of the matter. Now, and it eventually, when it's gnawing at you, I was just listening coming in on the radio. It's where you put it on purpose. You can't fight this feeling anymore. That was the song that was playing when I was driving in the road, and that was what it was like.
Yeah.
It was something in the background, and people close to me, and I want to thank the people that canvassed for me and worked with me over the years. I have a feeling they sensed it, because they saw that the same passion wasn't there, the same drive wasn't in me. I have a feeling they have now, and I spent most of yesterday ringing them to thank them. I know journalists were ringing me as well. I couldn't answer the journalists. I was putting the people that were good to me first over the years. People that canvassed the highways and byways of County Waterford with me and were with me through the good and bad times. And I really appreciate those people as well. And the decision meant I was in some way leaving those down as well. But they reassured me that I wasn't.
How's your health?
My health is 100%, thank God.
Spot on. So it's not a health matter.
It's not a health matter at all, no, and it's just on the health. Like, again, how it gnaws at you, this thing. I remember sitting at parliamentary party meetings, and they go on late into Wednesday nights for Fine Gael. We sit as a parliamentary party, all the TDs, senators, ministers, Taoiseach at the top table. And the last few months, I could see myself starting to drift out of the conversations. And that's not me. And I was thinking of the village wheelers at home, going out on their bikes on a Wednesday evening, and I was saying, I need to be with those guys. Like, what am I doing here? Yeah. And that's the truth. And so it's all of those things just keep coming, ebbing and flowing, and then it arrives at a time, and I think possibly with the election coming closer, I made the decision that I need to be up front here and say, look, this is no longer for me, and I just need to be up front with the people of Waterford, with the people in Fine Gael, and with myself.
You mentioned the court case. Did the court case cripple you financially, or how did you come out of that?
No.
Because there's some rumours going around that it's the court case.
Yeah, well, if anybody wants to think that, they can. But if they want to come out to Portlaw, I'll show them the nice new house that I'm building at the moment, the nice car that I bought during the year. Certainly didn't cripple me. But what it did was it shook me for a while. I spent 5 weeks in the court. I spent 1 full week on the stand where barristers for the opposing side turned my life upside down, questioned my integrity and my good family name. And at the end of that, they came to me and settled with me, wished me well in my political life and said I was a man of integrity and agreed to take all the defamatory material down off the websites. And the rest is confidential. I'm glad they did, because I didn't want to go on further with that. But as I said earlier, I'm a proud family man, a proud Portlaw man, and I'd fight to the bitter end to protect that name.
I know you can't reveal, as you say, the details of the settlement for confidential purposes. Can you tell me, did you have to pay costs? I'm
not getting into that at all, Damien. All I'm saying is I came out of that stronger than I went in. Okay. And I'm very happy with the outcome of it and the settlement that was offered. And I'm going to say no more than that. And it's a lesson. It's a lesson for journalists and for politicians to be respectful of each other, in my eyes. I was called something that I'm not in that headline and that paper. And I'll fight that all the way. And if it happened again, I do the same. I've no regrets.
So it's not got to do with the court case?
Nothing at all to do with the court case. Nothing whatsoever. It's purely for, as I said, family reasons. Things have moved on.
Yeah.
And I want to do something different.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the hard political reality as well now in a minute. Minister John Halligan has texted in, I want to wish Paudie and his family the very best in the future. Paudie has worked hard and put Waterford first throughout his career. I'll see you before Christmas, he says. That's a threat or a promise. I know that's nice.
I just want to say to John, Mary and David, and indeed Grace as well when she was with us.
And John O'Leary has texted as well.
Yeah, and all the politicians. I get on well with them all. But we had a new dynamic here in Waterford where the Oireachtas members, I think for the first time ever, were sitting at meetings together, working together. And that happened in the last number of years because we realise it must happen if we're to progress. And I want to thank them for the manner in which they've engaged with me over the years. We go against each other. That's politics. It's competitive by nature because you're competing for people's votes. But once the votes are cast, you respect the outcomes and you work with the people that are elected. And that's what I've always believed. And I want to wish each and every one of those the very best in the years ahead.
Well, one man who's texted in who would always have a lot of giving out to do with you is Councillor Pat Fitz. Just after Paudie was made minister, I bumped into him in the street one day. He said to me, it doesn't matter what party you're with, if you ever need a hand, contact me. I'll always hold Paudie in high regard.
Thanks, Pat.
Declan Clune has texted in as well, saying you're a massive help for me on local issues over the last few years. Despite our political differences, will be a big loss to Portlaw. Sharon, Anne and the Carey family have texted in, wishing you all the very best from the bottom of their hearts, all you've done for them. And other people still coming in. Keep your texts and comments coming in. Stay with us for another few minutes, will you?
I will, yeah, no problem, yeah.
Good man, thanks. Now, loads of texts coming in. Blaise Hannigan has just phoned in. Sean Dower, wishing you every success. A couple of people texting in about water charges, saying obviously the water charges, people would have had a major issue. On the politics, Paudie Coffey, was your involvement in water charges and trying to defend water charges and being at the front of that in terms of being a government spokesperson, did that harm you politically? Was that a bad choice that you made?
Oh no, well, I certainly don't regret the positions I took. Did it harm me politically? Anything that's not popular will harm you politically. Anything. And any new charges will harm you politically. I still believe, in fact, we did the wrong thing by not pursuing that route. People will say, he's cracked, he's still on about it. But if you look around, with Dublin there with the water problems and the water systems are breaking down all over the country because Irish Water haven't the money to invest in it. They haven't, it quite simply. And if there was a proper sustainable system, and this is what I have an interest in, sustainability or environmental awareness, building awareness amongst the public about what's needed. Because something is out of sight, out of mind, and I'm not going to go over the whole debate again.
No, we won't,
it doesn't mean you don't invest in it. But of course it did. It took votes from me, and people utilised it to try and defeat me. But I still recognise the massive vote I got in the last election. I got 7,200 first preferences in a 4-seater constituency. The Minister for Finance is in a 4-seater constituency. He got less than 4,000 first preferences.
On the water charges, are you still you still believe water charges are morally right? Like whatever about the economics of it.
It's not charge for the sake of charge. It's the polluter pays principle. And I believe that's morally right. The more you use, the more you pay.
You don't believe it's a right to have water?
Oh, I do. And there was, with our system, we had a basic right to a basic level of water. That was always there. What you were paying for was the overuse or the waste of water. But this is, we won't get into the whole debate again.
Did the party make a mess of it?
They made mistakes, of course they did. And I was one of the ones trying to clean it up after them. But look, the issue is still there. And it will have to be dealt with by somebody in the future.
But if you had pursued it, you wouldn't be in power now.
But we did pursue it. But there was a compromise made, which I was disappointed about.
I know you were disappointed, but that's what I mean. If you had pursued, the initial plan by Fine Gael, you would have been kicked out by the people.
There was a compromise made by Fianna Fáil. No, Fine Gael ended up the biggest party after the last election. Even taking the unpopular decisions around water, we still were the biggest party. We weren't big enough to create a government on our own, so we compromised in the interest of the country.
For political expediency.
Well, people will argue that. I'm not going to get into that argument now. It was to keep a stable government in the country. It was either going to be Fianna Fáil government or a Gael government.
It was to keep you in power.
And it was to keep a stable government.
It was to keep Fine Gael in power.
Well, look, I was disappointed that the compromise was made. I made that feelings known to the Taoiseach at the time and others within the party. I said we should hold our ground, and there's still a lot of people out there in the electorate that feel the same.
What did they say to you when you told them that?
They said, no, we're making a compromise, and they formed the government in the interest of the country. And that's fair enough too. And you know, that's politics. The politics is often compromise. You don't always get what you want, unfortunately.
Speaking of politics, is one of the reasons that you're stepping down out of national politics now is because you knew in your heart and soul you weren't going to get elected in the next general election?
Well, I feel I was going to get elected. In fact, when you look at it, I got 7,200 against the head in the last election when water and other issues were flying and unemployment was huge. Everything was not going great at the time. So things are a lot better now despite the problems that are there, and there was a lot of positivity towards me in this time around.
But that was only with two candidates. Like, how annoyed or how did you feel about Fine Gael putting in John Cummins into the city?
Well, look, it wasn't John, it was either John or Damien Gagan or John Cummins.
And they decided to put in both.
They put in both, right? And
so how did you feel about that?
I felt they were only going to run two, and I had made my opinions known that I didn't mind which of the two lads wanted to run. I'd run with either of them and I'd work with either of them. So Fine Gael took the decision to run three, and the reason they told me was to try and maximise the Fine Gael vote, which I understand too. If I was looking at it cold-heartedly as from a strategy point of view, you'd say yes, put in a candidate in the city, put in one up in the west of Waterford, and you have Coffey in the middle to hold the middle. And that's the way they were thinking, and I can understand that from a logical point of view. But I would have preferred if there was only two.
Well, you told them they were wrong.
Yeah, I did tell them they were wrong, yeah. And they decided to go ahead and put three, so that's their decision.
And how does that make you feel that they didn't listen to you?
Well, that happens all of the time in politics. It happens in local politics where candidate selection is done. It's the national executive decide and the headquarters decide the final ticket. So I accepted that, and I was I was working on a strategy towards it with the two other candidates as recently as last week. And then I said I have to call a halt to this because my heart is not in it.
How do you summarise the last 15 years and your non-relationship with John Deise?
I got elected with John Deise first in 1999, and I got on quite well with him. It's when I was asked to run for national politics that the relationship changed, and John turned cold towards me. And I still try to work with him, but it progressively got worse over the years. And do you know what? In the end, I just gave up trying to have a relationship because there was no point. I'm the kind of person that work with people. I'm a team player, always have been, and I expect a team to work together. So when you have one person doing their own thing all the time, well, then it just doesn't work. So I just ignored it in the end, and I just did my own thing.
But if you're in a relationship in a house or in any kind of business relationship, it's one thing a person not getting on with you, ignoring you. It's another thing two people pulling apart and pulling in different directions.
Well, I just kept my head to the grindstone. I kept my shoulder to the wheel all the time. I focused on the issues that were affecting Waterford. I focused on my own campaigns. I tried to stay out of that as much as I could. You always have supporters that are on either one side or the other, and sometimes there'll be flashes between them. But I just got on with it.
How bad did they get?
Well, sure, look, you'll have rows and you'll have arguments. That's politics. And by the way, it happens in every party, so it does. But it was, I suppose, more pointed here in Waterford than other areas because we were neck and neck a lot of the time, And but I just got on with it.
Did your supporters work actively against each other?
No, we didn't. No, there was never. They never had a strategy here where you divided the constituency. It was all, you just went at it, the whole area, city and county, and that's the way we did it. And I think in some ways that's allowed to happen by parties in some way because it builds competition, it builds energy in a campaign, and it gets people out doing their 100%, So there's a lot of psychology in politics. There's a lot of all of those background issues that the normal voting public mightn't recognise, and it goes on within parties. I did my part as best I could. I always feel I acted honourably in everything I did. I never did anything dishonourably. I've always respected others, no matter what party they're from or within my own party. But I just got on with it, and that was it. And maybe, I wouldn't move off the pitch. I was stubborn, I was determined, I was passionate, I was all of those things. And that's why I succeeded in the end, because I never thought, to be quite honest, when I became a councillor in 1999, in my first election, I was elected in a recount for the last seat by 7 votes. And I never thought I'd see the Dáil. I never had those aspirations. It's just where politics took me. And I was amazed with the support I got all over the county and city.
Have you I'll finish up with the John Deise thing, because I know you got at me before. I said I'm obsessed with him. I'm not. I'm obsessed with the relationship the politicians have within parties especially. And we have 2 big heavy hitters in Waterford, John Deise and Paudie Coffey, elected at the same time. 2 strong personalities, different people in their own way. You'd be a very emotional person. John would be his own person. With a base, John Deise would have that family background. You'd have the Portlaw base, and Fine Gael being very strong in the county over the years. And this clash, this working together at first, and then this dislocation. And the idea of being in the same county and not talking to each other.
It's terrible. It is terrible. And it's not something I ever wanted. I never promoted that in any way except to focus on my own thing. I always responded to, I never refused interviews in radio or with papers. I felt as an elected person, you had an obligation and a responsibility to answer questions when you're asked. So yeah, that's the way it developed, and it wasn't my doing, but I certainly fought my corner and I didn't back off. I'll put it that way to you.
Have you anything to say to John Deise at this stage?
No, I wish him well. He's decided to retire as well. I'm not a bitter person at all, Damien. He had 2 strong personalities, and yet people doing their best. He did his best for Waterford too, and in his own way. That was his decision. I did it in my way, and we got on with it. And I wish him well. I'm walking away as well, and that's the way it is.
Do you genuinely think you would have got elected?
I do.
You've got Mary Butler in Portlaw, right?
Yeah.
You don't have a strong geographical base. You've got Damien Gagan going in now in Dungarvan, who he's hoping to mop up the DC vote. You've got John Cummins, who has a family history and tradition within Fine Gael in the city and the east of the county.
And I'm delighted.
Did the private polls say you were in trouble?
No, I haven't seen any polls, to be honest. I haven't seen any polls at all.
Well, was it just the straws in the wind? You're a combination of factors, like I said earlier, your personal feeling and thinking, this is going to be a mess.
No, it's not. I know if I ran, I would have won. I know that. I know where my bases are. I'm 20 years in politics. The 2 lads are great candidates, and I can understand why they were put on the ticket in strategic locations, West and City. I can understand all of that. But I have done an awful lot of work over the last 20 years, from Yall Bridge right down to Passage East. I've worked with local communities, sports clubs, business associations, the IFA, and I thank them all, and I did in my statement yesterday, for their engagement with me over the years. I know where my bases and strengths are, and they were still there for me. This is my decision to call it a day for politics for the reasons I've outlined. I never shirked a challenge in my life. Anybody that knows me knows I never shirked a challenge in my life.
So it's not a political decision?
No, it's family decision. When I go to win, Damien. From the time I pulled on a Portlaw jersey when I was 6 or 7 years of age, To the time I wore a Waterford jersey, to the time I wore a political jersey, I've always went to win. And most of the time I've succeeded. And when I haven't succeeded, I've dealt with the disappointments. And I've understood that you accept defeat with honour and you wish the winner as well. I've always believed in those things. And but the winner in this now is my family.
Is Fine Gael a loser in this?
They may look. It moves on. I said to my family the weekend, and I called them all around me, my two brothers and Mairead, and I said this will move on very quickly, and we all let it go together, if you know what I mean. So, and it will move on. Like, there'll be new people, new faces, new debates. Some people will be delighted Coffey's gone off the radio. Some people say, we heard enough of him. And that's fine too. I have no issue with that. No problem at all. Coffey will do something else. And Coffey will be fine, because Coffey comes from a good family and a good community.
Paul Whelan's texted you in, said very best. I'm not going to get to all the different people texting in. Thanks everybody for texting in. Portlaw GA Club, Rita Lacey, so many different people. Who will you be canvassing for in the general election? Which of the two candidates would you like to see get elected?
That's an unfair question, Damien. I'm not going to answer it. I think the two lads, their time has come now, and I wish them the very best. I genuinely do. I get on great with both of them.
Will you be telling your... Will you be...
I won't be instructing, no. The lads will have to go out now and furrow and grind the way that I had to. The hard yards have to be done on the ground. I did that in 2007. I remember I gave up the ESB in this time, 2006 actually, coming into Christmas of 2007, knowing there was an election coming up the following June or July. And I spent 6 months out on the doors of City and County of Waterford, introducing myself beyond my own local base for the first time. And the lads are going to have to do that now, both Damien and John. And I know they'll do it well, because both of them bring unique traits and are very good politicians. And I want to wish them, genuinely want to wish them well. And I think either of them would make a great TD for Waterford.
So will you canvass?
I'll do a bit, yeah, I will. I won't walk away on them altogether, and I'll encourage them. But I won't be doing what I was doing, because, as I said earlier, I want to spend more time with my family. The
party is in flux. It's in change in Waterford.
Life.
In the county, I know, yeah, and the country and all that. Been a very tough year for Fine Gael and Waterford, the bullying allegations and all that, which were thrown out.
Yeah, but look, that was the culmination, I suppose, in things coming to an end, maybe, you know what I mean? There's a lot of frustration in the party because of inactivity and in that sense. But I'd still try to keep the focus and keep the thing going to the best of my ability. That's all I can do. And I've been upfront and honest with people to the best of my ability as well. And that's the way it is.
Who's going to form the next government?
I still think Fine Gael can lead the next government.
Who are they going to be in power with, if you think they are going to be in power?
I think the Greens are going to advance a bit, because it's coming to the fore a bit in terms of how people are thinking. You'll have strong independents as well, so it's Labour are still there, and I always have a bit of a graw for Labour, to be honest, myself, because I was in the trenches with them from 11 to 16 when, again, I say this without fear or favour, I think we worked to rescue the country from where it was, because the game was up when we took office in 2011. And whether people like me saying it or not, it's true. The cupboards were bare. There was no money there. We made tough political decisions. It nearly wiped out the Labour Party. And I'd love to see them coming back, because I don't think they deserved to get the treatment they got politically for the stances they took.
Is there a Green Party seat in Waterford?
There's a possible one there. There is a possible one. But again, Waterford is predominantly agricultural. I think some of the Green policies are a bit severe, a bit strong in terms of the impact it would have on agriculture and farming here in Waterford. I can understand why they would take the positions. They want a greener economy, they want climate change issues, but we just can't drop the blade on farming. Our county depends too much on it, and I'll say that, and I'd stand over that. It needs to be done incrementally, changing how we farm practice and all of that, whereas the Greens are very, I think they're a bit severe in their policies in that sense. But look, they have a great candidate here as well, and I wish him well. Mark, he sent me good wishes yesterday, and I want to thank him for that as well. And they came from across the political divide, and because politicians know what it's like, they know themselves what it's like. And when the day comes to call it a day, look, I'm going out on my terms now as well. I'm confident if I stood, I would have won. But I'm not sure that's what I wanted. And that's why I'm being upfront with people now to say, look, I'm stepping back, and I wish everybody else that's staying in there the very best.
Jacinta and Dookie Wheel and so many other people. Gubby Barry, Eddie Mulligan texting in other people. You didn't cry in the boxing ring with me. You're crying here this morning.
I was just saying, the listeners didn't hear it. I think it must have been about 8 or 10 years ago, is it, Damien?
Haiti. It was the Haiti earthquake. Hard hitting for
That's
80.
right, and we were asked to do white collar boxing.
Billy O'Sullivan, yeah.
Damien Tiernan here, just for listeners, and he flogged the head off me for 3 rounds, but he couldn't put me on the floor. But he managed to do it in here today, so he did, so I owe him one back. But anyway.
Is there a weight lifted off your shoulders? You came in here with a little spring in your step, and I can see.
I'm actually quite excited. I know people say, like, what's his move next? I'm quite excited with what the future holds.
You're going to be a lobbyist. You're going to go into business. You're going to
There's going to be a bit of everything there, I think. As I said, look, I'm fairly good financially now, and that's down to politics. It's been good to me in business and other things. So I'm in a good place in my life. So I just want to reassure anybody that's worried about me. Everything's 100%. My health is 100%. My family is 100%. And I'm just turning a leaf. I'm turning a chapter in my book of life because I believe people need to do that. I don't want to have any regrets.
What have you got to say to Suzanne and the children this morning?
Thanks for being there for me. I'll be there for you now.
Senator Paudie Coffey, the very best of luck.
Thank you.
Now, as I say, a lot of texts coming in about Paudie Coffey, wishing him well, others asking about the pension. As you say, Paudie said he is very well, he's grand financially, so it's not the court case and it's a personal decision he's made. Thank you everybody for all your texts. I may not get to them all. Sandra in Coolrua has texted in, lots of others. I'm going to go straight though first to a very important story. Terri Martin, good morning.
How are you, Damien? How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, listen, what we'll do is we'll have a proper chat with you in the first week in January. So we're just going to give a quick update this morning. You're one of the MESH survivors, and MESH Survivors Ireland had a meeting with Minister Simon Harris. Just remind people, what is the MESH?
Well, MESH is a device that was put in for incontinence and prolapse, usually after childbirth. But like that, to support the bladder if there's any issues or if there's a prolapse. But it all went horribly wrong. Anyway, now there's mesh for hernia mesh as well, for males as well. But it's all made with the same polypropylene plastic that the incontinence mesh is made from as well. But generally, since it's after being put in now, it's after causing injuries to so many people, of severe pain, bleeding, infections, tiredness, autoimmune issues, intimacy issues, and sort of affecting the whole of people's lives, like their physical, social, emotional, mental.
Horrendous. Yeah, like a lady rang yesterday. Julie took the call. She's had the 9 years of torture as a result of the mesh implant. She's in extreme pain. She's in bed most days. Wants to thank Terry and the campaigners for their efforts, but says nobody really cares. And she was crying on the phone, really upset. More texts calling in, and Fiona has called in. Like, it's horrendous. Now, what are you looking for from the government?
Well, we initially were requesting an independent audit because they don't actually know the figures. Now, they have a designated HSE mesh page, but even to the language on it is wrong. Like, they're saying the minority of people it didn't work for and the majority and all this, but they don't actually know the proper figures at all because they never had to log it anywhere. So we had asked about that for an independent audit. That was blankly refused, but they have offered now. It's a sort of a compassionate patient voice review. Now, personally, I only think it's a fact-finding expedition for the HSE, but seemingly we have to go through the new pathways. The pathways have been in since last June, but they had to update it because it wasn't working. So this is their new way forward. They offer that. They're after offering a sort of 2 pain management sessions, 2 counselling sessions and 2 physio sessions, but we have no dates or anything. They said we have a translabial scanner that we were campaigning for. It's the only scanner that can pick up mesh in the body, and it was supposed to be here in December and then available from January, but there's no updates as yet with that. With the pathways themselves, I was lucky enough. I was after getting through to the pathways. I was after being given my designated person to go to. But you have to go back then to your GP to get them to refer you to the designated person that the pathways had allocated to you. You know, it's all running around. Everything is going around in circles, and we're getting nowhere fast. Then there was the issue.
So what are you going to do, Terry?
Well, sure. All we can do is keep going forward with this. But even to the redress scheme was totally, he dismissed that at the meeting. But I don't believe that should be right, because if people after taking, people in severely bad cases, such as you mentioned, needed it out, needed it removed, and they had to take out loans, they had to remortgage houses and everything, because the surgery ranges from around €25,000 to €40,000, and privately done, and they had to go to the UK to get it done, or to America. So, because there's only the select few that can actually remove it. Now, we did ask the HSE claim that we have complete removal surgeons here. We requested a list of names of consultants who were able to do it, and to date we haven't received anything back to say who can do it or where they can do it or anything. So although they're saying all these things are in place at ground level, it's still not really amounting to much.
I'd say it's very upsetting for you all, is it?
Oh, it is, and especially this time of year, because it's so restrictive on everybody. Like that, like there'd be some gatherings now and family meetups and everything. You never know from day to day what way you're going to wake up from it. You could wake up in great form, next all of a sudden you go out of bed and your legs won't work. When you do eventually get them work, then you're in constant pain. You can't be too far away from a bathroom. There's all sorts, and if you have infections at all, then your autoimmune is down. If someone so much as has a cold passing you, you pick it up. So it's no life, it's an existence. That's what it is. It's an existence.
Lisa had texted in, Damien, I had the operation 2 years ago. Many of these mesh injuries haven't presented for 10 years. I'm terrified that this is a ticking time bomb waiting to go off and ruin my life. What should I do? That's from Lisa.
You see, this is where, some people have said, they have it in years, and it has worked. Even for the incontinence, we say they put it in, it actually stopped the leaking, but they developed autoimmune issues. Then there's other people who only have it in a couple of hours, and it's causing problems. It's a body response. It's the way everybody's body isn't the same. One size don't fit all. Yeah. But when it do go wrong, it goes horribly wrong. I've met most of the people now that's on the group, because we'd have meetups and things like that, and it's horrendous, horrific what's going on. There was one lady the other day, and she had it removed, a couple of attempts at removing it, but she was told at the time they were full removals, and now she discovered she has 4 segments still left in her body that's causing all sorts of havoc because it's going everywhere. My goodness.
Terry, we'll get you into studio in January and we'll keep this campaign going and do anything we can for you, okay?
Okay, thanks very much, Damien.
No, not at all. It's the least we can do, and hello to you and happy Christmas to you and your family and all those mesh survivors. Genuinely mean that, okay?
And happy Christmas to you all at WLR, and thank you so much for your support.
See you, Terry. God bless.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Terri Martin there from Mesh Survivors Ireland. I think it's a campaign we're going to hear a lot more in the new year. Let us know, please. Your text 083 333 975. You can call Deise today on 051 123. A lot of text still coming in about the interview with Paudie. Sean, I think it's Sean Derek Malloy. Damien, thanks for all your hard work. A true Irishman knows represented our constituency very well with the utmost respect and conducted himself impeccably. Thanks, Paudie. Others saying they don't agree with Fine Gael policies and such like. So keep your texts and comments coming in. Now, Matt Shanahan has texted in from the All in the Hand on Heart campaign, excuse me, to wish Paudie the very best in his future. Johnny Cluno, people before profit, completely against obviously what Fine Gael are standing for, saying good luck to Paudie, but in politics Fine Gael represents the interests of the rich, wealthy and the powerful elite. Other people saying well done to Paudie on his decision, going out on his own terms. Councillor Nora Flynn, best wishes to Paudie, pleasure to work with you and your late father, family first, public life is hard going. Former Councillor Nora Flynn. Other people texting in as well, as I say, Pat Fitz texted in. Councillor James Tobin has texted in, a great servant to the people of Waterford. Paudie is all the best to him in the future. Damien, Irish Water have nearly €7 million to pay staff bonuses but can't invest in fixing pipes. It shows exactly what water charges are about, making profits for a few wealthy people. Others have texted in. Damien, excellent interview with Paudie. Portlaw GA Oscars, a Turanina listener. Not a Fine Gael supporter, but I would have voted for Paudie. I think it's a bad day that he is leaving the top table. That is from Kieran. Paul Whelan has texted in, and a lot of other people wishing him the very best. Rob Cass has texted in regarding the North Keys. Thanks, Paudie, for being so positive and passionate. Without the STZ, that's the special designated zone, and his help, the North Keys wouldn't be happening. He did exceptionally well behind the scenes. Thankless work at key points within the Cabinet, and with the Cabinet in the past 2 years gave us confidence to drive on. Want to wish him the very best. We didn't even get a chance to talk to Paudie about that. I said we'd have so much to talk about. And the North Keys is one of the things that's in the news today. You've been listening to it on the bulletins. We're going to be doing a lot more on that on Thursday. Tomorrow we're going to be in Dungarvan for a special pre-Christmas show in Dungarvan. And we'll be talking to people involved in the North Keys project extensively on Thursday. So we're going to cover that in a big way then. So that's a text in from Rob Cass, who's involved in Falcon Real Estate. And my good friend Darren Skelton has texted in. Excellent interview with Paudie. Thank you very much, Darren.